Getting some replayability out of a single-player game isn't as easy as you might think. You could just give the player a bunch of extra things to do, but if you really want to keep someone coming back, you're going to need to add some variance. If you tread the same path over and over again, it's gonna get boring. You can only fight the same generic type of bad guys, the same type of protagonist before you yearn for something more. Gamers love having a choice. Even down to the smallest parts of a game, it can add a sense of individuality in how you go about your adventure, making no two playthroughs the same. And with so many different choices, some can get pretty grueling. Few moments make playing games serious business than difficult decisions. Some of them with infinite possibilities like naming a character are tricky since there isn't a right choice. But when the game forces the hard decisions on you, where it feels like you'll end up with a tangible split at that moment, the pressure on you to get it right is ridiculous. As is the pressure on me to pick good examples to talk about. I would say that deciding what to put on here was difficult, but it wasn't really. Just how much thought do you think I put into these videos? Hidden away in the shadows of the whimsical underwater city of Rapture in Bioshock is the obsessive struggle for Adam. Not a single guy, but a special substance that causes mutations in stem cells that allows for all the crazy superpowers that make your journey through Rapture significantly easier. Scattered around the city are the Little Sisters who, through some specially implanted sea slugs, are full to the brim with Adam, and encountering one will give you a chance to pick up some more for yourself. How much you take is, really, all up to how much of a monster you are. Harvesting Adam from the Little Sisters can be done via two different ways. You can either kill them and take all their Adam, or you can cure them from their current condition at the cost of only taking half their Adam. It sounds pretty simple, but as you may well know, life is never simple in the world of Bioshock. I said that it depends on how much of a horrendous person you want to be, but sometimes people do terrible things out of desperation. You might get double Adam for killing a little sister, but over the course of the game the difference isn't that much, since you eventually get rewarded for saving enough of them. However, despite the fact that Bioshock is one of my all-time favourite games, I really didn't like it when I first played it. Maybe since it was one of the first FPS games I ever played, but I was struggling something fierce in the moments before finding the first little sister. And that's what this dilemma sets up. Not just a brief crisis of morals, but one that filters straight back into the gameplay. By killing a little sister, you get an instant leg up on the competition, and if you can overlook the obvious ethical argument, it'll put you in a very good position early on. Though if you rescue every little sister, you do get one of the most heartwarming endings to any video game. You know, maybe funky drugs aren't worth it after all. I'm sure it's quite hard to be the hero. Not only is there a lot of pressure on you to solve everyone's problems, but when it comes to the hard decisions, you're the one that they're gonna turn to. It doesn't matter what it is, that's a lot of responsibility regardless. Even more so when you're dealing with interplanetary politics. If you're gonna mention Mass Effect, there are worse things to talk about than the choices you get both casually during dialogue and more seriously when coping with more severe affairs. What takes some getting used to is the permanence of your choices. For someone who grew up on Zelda games that gave you the option of yes, or let me say a couple more lines of text which will eventually result in yes, it definitely took me a while. The first Mass Effect game gives you an early choice of which squad member you send to their death, which shows off the tricky decisions you'll be making during the trilogy, even if no one saves Kaidan. Hardly a tough one. If you want a real head-scratcher though, look no further than trying to resolve the conflict between the Geth and the Quarians in Mass Effect 3. Two races connected by the fact that the Quarians actually created the Geth as slaves, before the latter became more sentient and fought back. Fast forward to the end of the mission Priority Rannoch, and Shepard has a choice of which race he'd like to wipe out. While you might think that this sounds like the player being on the outside looking in at a conflict that they have no interest in, it's worth pointing out that Legion and Tali are Geth and Quarian respectively, and your actions will see the corresponding squad mate killed as well. Or if you know that this event is coming, you can play Mass Effect 3 and 2 in such a way that gives you the option to bring peace to the Geth and Quarians. Certainly better than bringing a whole race to extinction. No one man should have all that power and all that. Whenever a game gives you lots of decisions to make, my stance has always been for things to not get too out of hand too quickly. It's this fruitless attempt to try and stay on the right side of morality, but when you send so many decisions the way of the player, it doesn't last long. A lot of games with a heavy focus on narrative and player choice will inevitably have moments where you've got to pick your favourite flavour of poison. Heavy Rain does that, except it's just a choice between drinking the deadly poison and saving your son, or leaving it alone and dooming him forever. But hey, that's pretty easy. It even gives you 60 minutes to save Sean afterwards. Frankly, it's a parlour game compared to what happened just a while ago. Putting yourself in danger is one thing, but the chapter where you're sent to kill a drug dealer is some heavy shit. There's always this sense in Heavy Rain that what you're seeing and doing might not be genuine and might work out in the end, but you can't get much more real than murdering someone. And hey, anyone can chop off their finger. You could replace it with a robo-finger later. But could you deal with shooting a guy in the head, even if you was a drug dealer? You do get a choice made harder by the dealer talking about his kids, but, you know, you've got a kid too. What did I do? Shot him in the head. Didn't want to take any chances with the origami killer, but as I found out later, you can still save Sean if you spare him. But damn, doesn't feel great either way. Drug dealers are people too. You know, I don't know why you'd get attached to any characters in a zombie setting. I mean, you do because you emphasize with their struggle and root for them to get through, but life becomes ludicrously expendable even though you'd think that they would value non-zombie life a bit more in these circumstances. Over the course of a whole season's worth of episodic adventures, there's enough ups and downs in the Walking Dead game to give you plenty to think about, and considering the fact that the vast majority of what goes on is directly as a result of your choices, you feel the weight of said decisions. There aren't too many cheery moments, but events take a trip down a deep, dark alleyway at the end of Season 2. Like, seriously, no one comes out of this with any pride. Unlike Heavy Rain, The Walking Dead has a lot of decisions that affect other people and their ultimate fates, but they saved the hardest choice for the end of Season 2. Kenny is a character whose mental state has deteriorated over the episodes, and despite having a kind exterior, is capable of going a bit overboard. Jane, a character new to the second season, is desperate to show off Kenny's crazy side, and so she wrongly tells him that the baby that he entrusted to her died while they were separated. The two of them have an argument that escalates to a knife fight, which goes as far as Kenny pinning Jane. Picking up a gun, you can either choose to shoot Kenny or let him kill Jane, and I won't lie to you, this is a bad situation to be in. You've got two likeable characters trying to kill each other, but even if you kill the one you like the least, you're still left with someone with a severely fractured mental state either way. You've got a choice between someone who's been sliding down the slippery slope for the best part of a season, or someone who would put a baby in danger just to expose one man's madness. Or if you like your endings hopelessly depressing, you can let Kenny kill Jane and shoot Kenny afterwards, at which point you take the not actually dead baby and go it alone. Zombie games aren't scary anymore. They're just really sad. If I make this video 1 minute longer, it affects both my life and the lives of all of you watching at home in a very small, practically negligible way. But still, maybe that extra minute will delay someone long enough that they don't get hit by a car, or that they arrive 1 minute late for a train. Effectively the possibility that small changeable details can have a larger impact further down the line. This is known as the butterfly effect, and it's a theme that I've seen used in a few games before, but few use it better than Life is Strange. This is a game that doesn't just have a few moments where you're given a tricky decision. This is a rare instance where the game is virtually bathing in the player's indecisiveness. The playable character in Life is Strange, Maxine Caulfield, has the ability to rewind time at any moment, allowing her to experiment with her own version of the butterfly effect. An early vision of the destruction of her town, Arcadia Bay, via a vicious storm convinces Max and Chloe, who Max saves from being shot by using her ability to rewind time, to stop the destruction of Arcadia Bay and all the people who live there. And if you know anything about the butterfly effect, it'll be that the metaphorical example given is that the disturbances caused by the flapping of the wings of a butterfly have the potential to cause a hurricane over time. And that's exactly what happens. I mean, it's not very subtle, but good lord, it's poignant. Max and Chloe find themselves overlooking Arcadia Bay under attack from a very angry superstorm, and came to the conclusion that the storm came to be due to Max's ability to time travel, and that the only way to get rid of it is to go back to when Chloe was shot and for Max to not interfere. In other words, you're presented with a choice between sacrificing your best friend to save the people of Arcadia Bay, or sacrificing Arcadia Bay to keep your best friend alive. Chloe seems content enough with the first option, but the reality is that none of these options trigger a good ending. Whichever way you go, you're going to be watching events unfold in a way that feels like you never had any control. No matter what your choices were in the build-up to this, you're still given the option of two very sad endings. It says a lot when the hardest choice I've seen in a video game is that there isn't one. Let's be RabbidLuigi, and you would think that sacrificing Chloe would be better since it's what Chloe wants, but that doesn't soften the blow. You still have to watch her funeral. And while the ending is sad, sacrificing Arcadia Bay is devastating since you feel responsible for it. It's a lose-lose situation either way. Life isn't strange. Life is fucking depressing. Got a topic that you'd like me to discuss in a countdown? Leave a suggestion in a comment below and head over to my Twitter, where I'll be holding a vote to decide the subject of the next countdown based off the best of your submissions. Thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you in the next one. Hey guys, hope you liked that. I don't do massively serious countdowns often on this channel. This was probably the first since I did one about depressing endings last year, but I like the unique challenge they bring up. Try to balance information with opinions and the occasional joke. I'll admit I think about it more than with other types of topics. Anyway, there's a poll about what the next top 5 is going to be, so, you know, go do that. Twitter and Facebook, it's where the cool people are.